The following pre-recorded program is sponsored by Adams Financial Concepts. Welcome to About Money, a different approach to investing you won't hear anywhere else. Your hosts, the AFC Team, Mike and Al, are registered investment advisors who have a proven track record of managing long-term investments surpassing the markets. The information shared on the following program is for educational purposes only, and any investment advice given may not be suitable for all investors. And now, here's your AFC Team, Mike and Al.
And it is Saturday, and we're going to be talking about money. One of the most constant fees that's been the fee for selling your house ever since I can remember, and I'm pretty old, so it's gone on for a long time, is the house that realtors charge. We're going to talk about that, and we have a guest from the housing industry that's going to help us explore that, explore what's going on in housing, both nationwide and here in the state of Washington, what's happening with housing and housing prices and cost. Also, the January jobs release came out. 335,000 jobs created. Plus, they revised upward the number of created jobs in December and in November. They revised those up over 250,000 additional to what they had. So over the last 3 to 4 months, over 1 million jobs have been created. So what does that mean? Maybe more than you think, and maybe more than economists are talking about or thinking about. We have some thoughts about that. That's coming. And what do wine and coffee and champagne and rice and insurance have in common? Going to talk about that too. That's coming in the program. But let's begin with a court case that just happened in the last couple weeks in Missouri. Court case was filed against real estate brokerage firms and the National Association of Realtors. The industry standard for real estate housing fees, if you go to sell your house, is 5 to 6%? The Missouri court held and fined the National Association of Realtors, RE/MAX, Coldwell Bankers, and several other firms $1.8 billion. And they said they're a monopoly. They've set that price, and it's almost a non-negotiable price. Or most people feel it's a non-negotiable price. Whether it is or not, I don't know. But that court case came down, and it probably will have a significant impact. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about fees. National Association of Realtors. Our guest today, Trevor Johnson, who is a builder. You know about real estate fees, right?
Yeah, we've paid a couple bucks in the years.
National Association of Realtors runs the multiple listing service, right?
They do.
And they even have the trademark.
For realtor, they have the realtor.
Realtor. They have 1.5 million members. They have currently 119 million sitting in their bank accounts. And this past year, they spent $53 million lobbying Congress.
The second largest behind the U.S. Chamber of Commerce in lobbying.
Yep.
Wow, it's a big number.
So just to put that in perspective, Mike, they're outspending the Amazons and the Microsofts and these companies that have billions of dollars on their balance sheet.
And they're spending more.
More, right.
And what the Missouri court found is that they're guilty of inflating commissions. It was a jury trial, and the jury awarded $1.8 billion. Mm-hmm. The judge has yet to make a penalty award, and it could be 3 times that.
And this is going to have national implications. This isn't just a Missouri thing.
No. It's going to be national all around, And that fee is held up for decades and decades.
I know, but if you think about it, Mike, it's the last fee to really be compressed. I mean, look at the fees in our industry.
Yeah.
They're constantly being compressed. We're constantly under pressure to provide more service and do things better at less cost.
And I started in the business. Everybody was a transaction. We charged a commission to a trade. Call somebody up, recommend a stock. They would either say yes or no, maybe call you a few names. But, it was a time in which you charged a commission every time. And I was one of the first that started charging a fee. And back in those days, a lot of people had a lot of problems paying a fee. They would rather have a transaction commission charge. But the industry has changed to be charging fees. But back in those times, my first account was opened on December 31st, 1990, with a fee of 3% for the first $250,000. No, for the first $500,000. Then it dropped to 2.5 for the next $500,000. Then it dropped to 2.25 for the next million. Then it dropped to 2%. I mean, that's almost everyone was charging 3%. Today, the average fee is 1.0 for real compression.
Yeah, and if you look at transaction costs, plummeted, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can get, Robinhood and these places, 0 transactions to buy and sell.
Yeah.
What those used to be, even years ago, they were charging a nominal fee, 14 or 15. The discount brokers came in, right, and crushed the big houses and say, hey, we're going to charge a flat fee of $20 or $25 and you can trade whatever you want. And then all of a sudden, the new ones came in and crushed the discount brokers and charged 0 fee.
Oh, when I started in the business, I mean, it was a dollar price of like $6 or $8 plus 2.5% of the price of the stock.
Yeah.
So sometimes a commission would run $400 and $500.
Yeah.
And then the discounters came and charged $14 for that same trade. 14.
I remember an account that I opened for a lady in, I think it was 2008 or 9. And we moved the account because she was with, I can't remember, one of the big houses, whatever. And they wanted to charge, to liquidate her account, they wanted to charge $400 and she had like 50 stock.
Wow.
I was like, wait a second. So I called my team, like, well, what can we do it for? We'll do it for $30 a transaction. I'm like, wait, $430? Trevor, you don't need to be a mathematician to figure that one out.
That's right. It's real money.
It's like, that's a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was shocked when they said $400 a transaction.
Well, if you were a commission broker, you might cut the fee to $200 for the sell and $200 for the buy. I mean, oh yeah. The discounters came, and we were told, I worked for Payne Weber, full service brokerage firm, now UBS, and we were told the discounters are coming, but that'll only be for a few people that are do-it-yourselfers. They ended up taking a third of the market.
Yeah.
Almost everyone had a discount account or brokerage account, and it was a lot about fees.
But you don't have that in real estate, Mike. You can't go to I can't go to, I got to go, look, I'm going to pick between Caldwell and then some smaller places around Windermere and everything like that. They're all in the same place, looking at the same houses as MLS. And if you don't play their game, how do you market your house and sell your house unless you're going to do it yourself and put a sign out there and sale by owner?
Yeah.
Which doesn't get no one's going to, what real estate agent's going to come by, right, and give up the commission to come to your house, even though it could be a great place and the price could be right. They're going to just blackball you. You're not going to get the house isn't going to be seen.
Yeah. So the court case is going to have a significant impact. Real estate brokerage fee. What do they make on an average house? $1 million house. What does the broker usually make?
Well, kind of the industry standard, they've been 3% on the sell side and 3% on the buy side. So that'd be $60,000 on $1 million house.
Yeah, that's a big chunk. That's why real estate agents sometimes only sell one house a year, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to sell it. And I didn't make anything close to that on stocks.
You didn't make $60,000 a transaction?
No. making $40 or $50 on a transaction was a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, there might end up being disruption, right? Because Zillow, you can put your, sell now on there, and Zillow and a couple other tech companies were, making offers to buy people's houses. So I think there might be some disruption that's going to come on the tech side as well in this space.
Yeah, I think there's going to be significant disruption.
Yeah.
And I watched what happened in our industry with the 3% fees, and a couple things happened. I mean, well, because we have an ongoing relationship. When you buy a house or sell a house, it's a single transaction, and most often you don't get the same person coming back to buy another house every year or every year or whatever. In our business, you had an ongoing transaction or relationship with people, and when the market went down, they would ask, why am I paying so much when I'm losing money? And so the fees would get cut. And for a while, every time somebody started a new client, they would start them at a lower fee than their average client. So you would see some people paying 2%, some people paying 1.5%, a quarter.
Yeah.
But the squeeze was down. It was called the race to zero in our industry.
We had this guy named Larry Fink that came along and started a little company called BlackRock, little ETFs and stuff. So
well,
that's made it tough on you guys.
Survey by Investment News showed that 22% RIA firms raised their prices in 22 and 2%. So 88% kept it the same, but we're seeing some movement to get off the 1.0. Maybe
but even the 1.04, Mike, at least is competition, right? If you want to go to that and have that at 1.04, you're fine. If you want something more service, more comprehensive, maybe you go to 2% or whatever. But there's at least the variance of fees. Where with real estate, you're pretty stuck between 5 and 6%. You might get a little wiggle room, but not very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until you get in the really expensive homes, then they get a discount because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
But then that's just really helping
but how many
the rich, right? Because
Yeah.
if you have a $10 or $20 million house, right, you can get a lesser fee.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about housing in greater detail because we're going to talk and draw on Trevor's knowledge. So don't go away. You want to hear what he has to say? And then we're going to come back and talk about jobs report too. Don't go away.
About Money with your AFC team, Mike and Al, on AM 1300, The Answer. For more information, click on adamsfinancialconcepts.com.
And we're back. We just got finished talking about commissions in housing. Now we're going to drill down more into housing on the national scene and on the local scene. We have our guest who's the president of the Master Builders Association?
President of Master Builders of King and Snow 2024.
Yeah, Trevor Johnson. So we're going to talk to Trevor here. Trevor.
That's just my volunteer job.
So here's a real job during the day.
Yeah. I sometimes work the real job.
So since you're intimately involved in the housing industry, tell us what's going on locally in the housing. As far as I know, we have this shortage of housing. All around the country, we hear about shortage of housing. But tell us locally what's going on.
Yeah, great question, Al. So I was with the Lieutenant Governor Denny Heck last week, and he talked about the shortage from the Department of Commerce. That's about 1 million homes short over the next 20 years in our state, and that we usually rank 49th or 50th in the country at the bottom for the availability and housing, right? Literally at the bottom of all the states. So it's really what we've seen being in the industry is regulation. There continues to be more regulation, more fees. We're sitting here in the city of Seattle, for example, and there's mandatory housing affordability fees on middle price housing, townhouses.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So a few years ago, Seattle instituted what's called mandatory housing affordability, and it's on some of the big buildings and skyscrapers, but it also came into townhouses. Mm-hmm. So it really... it's a per square foot based on kind of the zoning of the land you buy.
Yeah, so define what would constitute a townhouse over building a single family home.
Oh, yeah, great question. A lot of townhouses, if you live in the city or if you've lived in Boston or New York or other dense cities, you'll see row homes or townhomes or walk-ups. They're used different terms. And they usually have wall attached to each other. There might be 3 or 4 or 5. There could be many. And they usually range from 900 square feet to as big as 2,200 square feet. So they can be real, one person buyer up to a family. Mm-hmm. And then in Seattle, we have a thing called a unit lot subdivision that you can segregate the land and you buy it fee simple, but you own to the middle of your basically.
Okay.
And there might be a homeowners association depending on the size of the property.
Right.
But it's really a middle income, like an attainable housing that we'll see our firefighters, nurses, teachers be able to have some attainable.
Right.
Right where the big single families on Queen Anne or Capitol Hill or whatever expensive neighborhoods you might be living in, listening to this in Edmonds or some Amish, are harder to attain if you're just starting in a job or in your 30s.
I have a question.
Mike, I love it. Hit me.
Spit it out, Mike.
I'm trying to visualize. You say they own up to the middle of the wall. Is that the front half of the house or the back half of the house? Which wall?
Yeah, so if you're in a town row home, let's say, you'd own all the way to the front and back, but if you're in the middle, one of the middle units, you would literally own up to about the middle of the studs. And I don't need to get into technical on framing, but there might be 2 sets of studs and a 1-inch gap in between. Yes.
So you own the half-inch, Mike.
You have to split that last half-inch where the wall's separated.
That visualization of half the wall. I'm thinking front half of the house, the back house?
You definitely want to get along with
your
neighbor.
You own just the top half of the wall. The other guy owns the bottom half.
Yeah. You definitely want to get along with your neighbor.
Yeah.
Because many of these have rooftop decks as well. So then you
tell
own
us
to the
more
middle of that
about
parapet wall.
the low-income provisions that they put on that drove some of the costs to go up for those type of housing.
Depending on the size of the site, we've paid anywhere between $60,000 and I think over $350,000 per site. Just this fee, mandatory housing affordability fee, that goes into a fund to build affordable housing. But it also just lowers how much we can buy a property for existing homeowners because it's just added.
Right.
Yeah. And one of our questions for City of Seattle, is like, hey, we want visibility into that. How many units are you producing? How many are you buying? Because they'll buy finished buildings from the market, a private owner and some affordable housing. So I think the overall desire and concept is good, but having it in middle income housing is really making it more unaffordable for middle income, right? So I think there's really, we're hopeful potential in townhouses so we can keep producing more. Because in City of Seattle, townhouse permits 4 or 5 years ago have just dropped. And this last year is very few permitted townhouse project in Seattle.
Is that just because the feasibility, you can't afford to do them and sell them, especially with interest rates going up, right? So that same buyer can't come in and buy that townhouse.
Yep.
because of paying, another 2 or maybe 3% on top of what they would have paid 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, just the market, interest rates went up and different angles.
Yeah.
So, and before they instituted this, someone might have gotten, let's just say, $1.2 million for their house, and then now with that fee, let's say the fee is $200,000, then the next person selling, their neighbor, gets $1 million, and they're like, well, my neighbor got 1.2, and it's like, well, this one piece is actually reducing what I can. So we've heard a lot of that. Homeowners that have owned homes in Seattle for maybe 100 years or 30 years or whatever they've lived there, and they're going, why are you paying us less? And then input that cost raises the cost of house. Right. We're 35 to 40% of the cost of a house in Seattle. And Puget Sound is regulation.
That's huge.
Permit fees, MHA.
30 to
40%. So if you're buying $1 million house, we're going to spend $300,000 to $400,000 on permitting, sidewalk rentals, all the regulations, sales taxes, 10.5% on everything we produce. So taxes, regulation, permits, it's the industry. I mean, there's lots of reports on this that you can pull up. It's 30 to 40%, especially in the Puget Sound.
When I was remodeling my house, Trevor, they had a fence. So the city came by and they put a note on. They had a porta potty out. They put a note on the porta potty and they said, "Hey, you have a permit."
Yep, from Seattle Department of
and
Transportation.
You got 24 hours to do the permit, right? So
otherwise they'll fine you.
Yep.
Then that's just another fee.
That's okay. I said, okay, so fine. I went down. I paid the $400 or whatever it was permit. Then I get another bill in the mail for $136. Well, what's this? That's an inspection fee.
Yep.
I said, what is there to inspect? Well, you have a forklift on your sidewalk. I said, yeah, I have what's there to inspect? You have a forklift on your side. Round and round and round it. They had to come by once a month and inspect it. Mm-hmm. So just for a guy to drive by and go, yep, the forklift's still there, $136 a month. And once the forklift was gone, right, I thought, the inspection fees is going to go away. No, I got 2 inspection fees, $270-something. I said, well, they had to inspect that it was gone.
Yep.
And they wonder why housing is so expensive.
So how much of this was due to the old city council and how much is to...
That's a great question. So there's a brand new city council. Very many new councilors. I think it's 6 total are new. And so having the opportunity of people that are more business minded, housing minded, I'd say more middle of the road, maybe had in the past, is we're very hopeful. And I think there's some good momentum. The mayor's office, Bruce Harrell, who came in 2 years ago, just some collaboration to try to, again, continue to get housing. I mean, we talk about it, that Maslow's one of the basic needs, right? Shelter and food. But, we're providing a basic need. And how do we collaborate with, city leaders, county leaders? I just talked about the lieutenant governor, the state. Federal doesn't have too much to play here. But, all the regulation is that in the 289 cities in the state and the 39, when it comes to housing, basic zoning and permitting and all that, that's all done on a local level. So this House Bill 1110 that passed last year at the state levels needs to now be implemented next few years, all the cities, state of Washington.
And what does that?
They've basically gotten rid of single family zoning in all 39 county, 89 cities based on size of the city. So some small cities it won't impact, but cities like Seattle, Everett, Bellevue, Linwood, they need to be able to house ADU dadus. A dadu is a detached additional dwelling unit. An ADU might be an attached dwelling unit. And Seattle was actually very progressive on this code. They passed it in 2018, so 5 years. So a lot of the products, homes that we're building and people that are all friends of, that I know are building these houses with an attached dwelling unit, a dadu, a little cottage, and then you condoize it and you sell them three separate. So that's really the product that's getting put out in Seattle right now. Very few single family homes because it's expensive to buy a lot and place it with, and very few townhouses. So our housing shortage is going to get more and more acute in the next 2 to 3 years, and even maybe longer if we don't start with this as a...
And one of the reasons the state of Washington is growing.
Absolutely. Every day. And city of Seattle was the number one added people. Yeah. I mean, it's the biggest city. It's also Seattle. A couple other cities saw some just looking list of,
But this isn't just around the country. I don't know what the shortage is. There's quite a shortage. And I wonder if the same problem you're saying is that regulate up cost. Also, it happened after 2008. We stopped building housing. Mm-hmm. We stopped for a long time. We weren't keeping up with the demand of building housing. We fell way behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Whereas that crash, it took a while. Existing lots in that inventory, whether it was here or Las Vegas or Phoenix or San Diego or Sacramento, which are the hardest hit in that part of California. Mm-hmm. It took quite a while. D.R. Horton's the biggest builder in the U.S., and they have been for about 20 years. Publicly traded, they're 2 to 3 times as big as the next guys. And they deliver about 82,000. But some of their homes in Tennessee still sell right now for $299,000 for a brand new. And here for D.R. Horton, you imagine it's a couple bucks more than $299.
Quite a few bucks more than $299.
Yeah. Probably starting at $599 or $699 anywhere in the state of.
Yeah.
So again, all housing is local, as we talk about. Mm-hmm. Regulations local. I'm going to Vegas in 2 weeks for the National Association of Home Builders show, and I'm a delegate on the broader. I'm also a Building Industry Association of Washington, which all the local to the state. So we've got some good relationships with Congress and to really continue to make housing an important issue. But some of those on the national level are different. Clean water, EPA issues. There's relationship to tribes on a national level. The way trees and waters.
So we're coming to commercial break soon. When we come back from the commercial break, we're going to talk more specifically what Trevor does and talk about building excavation. So that's also important. Don't go away. And if you miss any part of this show, you can find it on YouTube About Money. Just Google that. You can also find it on our website. So don't go away. We've got more to talk about housing, and we will come back and talk about that jobs report. So we've got so much to cover. Don't go away.
About Money continues. Remember the website, adamsfinancialconcepts.com. Here's your AFC team, Mike and Al.
So Trevor, besides being, we know what you do when you're not working, but what do you do? Tell us about your day. Tell us about your day job.
Yeah, so I co-founded Blackwood Builders Group in December of 13, so 10 years ago. My co-founder, Allenzy, and he had been a GC, and I painted homes and flipped homes, and we thought it would be a great idea to be a spec developer, and we thought we knew everything to know about building homes, and we've learned that we basically know nothing still 10 years later. But we built our first 2 homes on Bainbridge Island and sold those in January of 2014 and created the brand and Blackwood Homes, our Blackwood Builders Group then. And so since then, we've created other companies. We have 6 operational companies now. Most of them are around the Blackwood name. We own that trademark at the U.S. Patent nationally.
So what other businesses do you have besides home building?
So we have Blackwood Excavation, which does excavation for other builders in marketplace. We have a window business that sells to builders, to about 200 builders in the area, including the D.R. Horton, like I mentioned earlier.
So you just sell those wholesale? You just wholesale those?
Wholesale, basically, yeah. Okay. We're a dealer, so we sell lots of windows to builders, windows and doors. We have a paint and wall division, based kind of came from, but again, for builders.
So you're really vertically integrated then.
Yeah, and we have a general contractor company called Blackwood Builders.
So when the general contractor finds a piece of property to buy, and you guys can just get everything done within your company.
Yeah. And then I run Blackwood Acquisitions, which is our development company.
Okay.
We look at land. We buy land in Seattle. Again, we've in Bothell, Bainbridge Island. Yeah. Looking to grow regionally for housing. Sale housing is our main stuff we do.
So how do people find you if they want to go?
So we have a website, blackwoodhomes.com, www.blackwoodhomes.com. A lot of brokers, real estate that we were talking about earlier. We've worked with about 800 different real estate brokers that we have a mailer that goes, email that goes out to them. But if they're on the MLS, like we were talking about earlier, they can go find our homes when they go for sale on the market. So a lot of people have gotten to know who we are in the last 10 years since we started, because we've sold about 350 homes or so at a time.
Nice, nice.
So tell us once again the website and contact information.
I think it's www.blackwoodhomes.com. So you could search on Google or whatever your preference is, DuckDuckGo, Blackwood Homes or Blackwood Builders Group, and it'll take you to homes. Because that's our main product, is selling homes in the Puget Sound area.
Perfect.
To our friends and family, as we say.
Well,
or soon to be friends.
Thanks for all the information.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Thank you, gents, for
having me. Thanks you, Trevor.
Appreciate it.
Great having you on.
Yeah, it's fun.
So we want to shift now. The jobs report came out, 335,000 jobs. Let me put that in perspective. There are generally about 100,000 new workers joining the workforce every month. Now, the 335,000 is seasonally adjusted because you have a lot of people hired in December, you have people laid off in January, but that's an adjusted number. And the fact is, the December number was increased by 127,000 jobs created, and November was as well. What does that mean when you have 100,000 new workers coming into the workforce, but you're creating 335,000 jobs or 250,000? It means you're creating more jobs than there are workers to fill those. We had an unusual time in 2023 because we had almost 3 million new workers join the workforce, 250,000. A lot of those were people who might have been retired part-time. They might be people that are taking 2 jobs. But that's a tremendous surge over what we have. And so we have more jobs than we have workers to fill those jobs. And what that means is it's old basic economics. When you have a smaller supply than you have demand, what does that do for prices?
It drives them up.
It does. Labor rates are now increasing at 4.5%, 4.5% to 5% per year. Last year, in 2023, there were 17 million workdays that were lost due to strikes, due to walkouts. 17 million workdays. That's more than the previous 10 years combined. So, and there's probably not any foreseeable reason or any foreseeable event that's going to cause that to change. We're seeing a huge amount of pressure. And it's not just in the United States, it's worldwide. What's that?
And the other news that came out this week, Mike, is that unemployment benefits fell slightly. It's putting more pressure that people aren't, being laid off or filing these for unemployment.
Yeah. So, there's a tremendous amount of pressure. And worldwide, the idea going into 2022 is the Fed is raising interest rates, the curve is inverted, so we're going to have a recession, and that's going to take care of the problem. That's going to push unemployment up. It's going to push wages down, and not only in the United States, but worldwide. We didn't have a recession in the U.S. in 2022. We didn't have one in 2023, nor did we in the rest of the world. And while most of the Eurozone, a lot of the Eurozone, what was kind of stagnant, some of the Eurozone, like Spain and Greece and Italy, they saw their economies grow 2.5% to 3.5% to 4% a year. And we saw in the last couple of quarters in the U.S.
Well, Greece did because they were having a terrible time.
Yeah.
Remember, they were filing for bankruptcy, but they instituted a lot of market reforms and a lot of, more capitalist ideas in their economy, and their economy really took off this year. It was the best performing out of I think in the world, it was the best performing economy.
And prices in Greece. We had some friends that went to Greece, and they say the prices have skyrocketed for tourists. So, all that's going on. That's not putting downward pressure on prices. Because when wages are going up, if you have to increase your wages, what do you have to do, Trevor?
Have to raise prices.
Yep.
Inflation.
Or you're going to lay people off if you have less
to get less people.
You're going to hire more. You're going to not hire as many people.
More efficient.
But the demand.
Well, that's the thing. Is if the demand is there, you have to. A choice.
Yeah. So people are paying more. Prices are going up, and that's happening worldwide now.
Well, the IMF says in 2024 they believe world growth will be about 3.3%.
Productivity, in the meantime, is 1.2%. And what normally happens in good times is the productivity growth grows almost as fast as wage growth. And so the costs are offset by gains in productivity. What we have now is wage growth at 4.5%, and I think that's close to worldwide wage growth, and productivity at 1.2%.
No, I'm sorry. The IMF said 3.1%, not 3.3%. I was looking at trade data, so they said, this is kind of interesting, Mike. 2024, they think trade growth will be at 3.3%, which is below historical averages of 4.9%.
Yeah, because everybody's building.
What's that?
Everybody's bringing their supply chain home.
Yeah, they're moving their supply chains, right? It makes sense that would be.
Which creates more
pressure on local economies, demand in local economies for workers. Yeah.
So, all of this is coming together. I thought one of the interesting things that was commented on was Larry Kudlow commented that Bidenomics is working. Now, I don't have a lot of faith in Larry Kudlow, but he was head of the economic advisors during Trump's administration. And for that matter, to clarify, there's some people that loved Obama, hated Trump. There's others that hated or loved Trump and hated Obama, that love Biden and hate Trump, or love Trump and hate Biden. What counts for us is not who's the president, but what the numbers are.
And here's the funny thing, Mike. The numbers look good, right? We are the envy of the world as far as our economies. Mm-hmm. But consumer sentiment is down.
Yeah.
The consumer is feeling the Biden's got like almost an identity crisis,
mm-hmm.
because the consumer is feeling the pinch of inflation.
Yeah.
And regardless of how the aggregate economy, is, what's the old saying, Mike? If my neighbor loses his job, it's a recession. If I lose my job, it's a depression, right? And that's the kind of scenario he's in. And for a guy who and the Democrats pride themselves on helping the downtrodden, the working class, these are the people that are feeling the pinch of the inflation and some of the spending that he's done.
And there have been studies that have been done that for a person that's making $100,000 a year, and I don't remember the exact numbers,
in Seattle, that's minimum wage.
$100,000 a year. They want to buy a recliner chair that costs $400. Inflation comes along, their salary increases to $125, and the price of the chair increases to $500. they will tend to look at the chair as being overpriced, even though in relation to their wages, it's the same. And they'll look at that and be depressed about price increases. The danger, what we saw in the 1970s, is when people began to accept price increases as part of the normal ongoing economy and wages. They wanted their wages to go up. They were pushing their wages up, and they were willing to pay the higher prices and accept higher prices. And people got to the point, I can remember one person used the example of bread. A bushel of wheat cost $5 a bushel or whatever it was. Bread cost $1 a loaf. If the price of a bushel of wheat went up from $5 to $6, the price of bread went from $1 a loaf to $1.50. Did I say that right?
No, yeah.
Okay. Then the price of wheat went from 6 to 4. Price of bread went from $1.50 to 2. That was the kind of outlook for a lot of people. It didn't matter what the costs were. They accepted that there was inflation going on.
I don't think people are I think people that are accepting it, right?
Not yet.
And I think that the people that are being pinched are the working class, seeing the bread, the food costs are gone up. Now they're starting to see some relief in the used cars. The used cars are starting to trickle back down. It's not real fast, but it's starting to come down. But those things we buy every day, if we see those prices keep increasing, that psychologically that has an effect.
During inflation, prices increase like a rocket and they come down like a feather. Don't go away. We'll come back and we're going to pick up more of this as we go along. So don't go away.
About Money with the AFC team, Mike and Al on AM 1300, The Answer. For more information, click on adamsfinancialconcepts.com.
So the question is, what do coffee, wine, rice, and champagne have in common? Actually, we can throw insurance in there as well. What do they have in common?
They're all affected by climate change.
All affected by climate change.
You can throw hops in there too.
Yeah.
The major hop regions of the world are feeling it.
If you're a champagne lover, there's some really good champagne being made in the UK now. Up until the last few years, the climate wasn't good enough to make champagne. Now they're making, and they don't call it champagne, of course, it's called
bubbly,
sparkling. But it's really champagne and competing on a quality wise with some of the French champagne. I mean, that's a tremendous change.
Yeah, and that's happened in some of the great chateaus in France too, Mike, because the climate's changed and some of the ones lesser known are now producing as good a quality as the great chateaus.
In Burgundy.
Yeah.
The Pinot Noirs.
Yeah.
Those are coming in. Instead of paying $500 or $900 or $1,000 a bottle, you can now get some really good quality Pinots, French Pinots, for less than $50 on an equivalent basis with as good a quality as those you pay $1,000. It's all because of climate change. Half the world has rice as the main staple of their diet. And there's a big concern that rice growing conditions are changing because of climate change. And that's going to impact half the world's population. That's very significant. And I get up in the morning, every morning, 1 cup of coffee at home, and then I have another cup of coffee when I get to work. And that could change as well because coffee is very heat sensitive. And as the climate warms, and 2023 for the first time in our recent history, the average temperature 1.5 degrees above where it has been in the industrial age, 1850 to 2020. And it's having a significant impact, no matter what the cause, whether it's CO2 buildup or whether you just believe it's weather built. We see it, and it's accelerating.
Well, I think where we're all feeling it is insurance. We've seen insurance going way up.
Oh, yeah. In Florida, because of what's going on in terms of sea level, some highways are unaffordable. The ocean is washing away highways. Homes are being because of the sea level, rising sea level, and the storms.
And people can't they won't insure them down. Places they just won't insure. They won't insure their housing at all.
Yeah. Remember the ocean in last summer was up to 98 degrees off Florida. The Rodin Group has said that we're on the cusp of a tremendous transformation. That figures into the housing too. They say 162 million Americans will experience a decline in the quality of life due to climate change. They say that Buffalo, New York, will have as many 100-degree days as Phoenix by the year 2000. Buffalo.
Maybe it'll help the football team get to the... They can't seem to get over the hump, and they have a heck of a good team.
Yeah. They may not have to play in the snow anymore.
Yeah, maybe that'll help them. I don't know. Help Josh Allen throw the ball.
Well, will Phoenix get the amount of snow that Buffalo gets then?
So the issue in Phoenix, as you look at the situation, is those people that are more affluent can afford the air conditioning. But for the people that are the servers and that are the low end of the economic scale, they live without air conditioning. And that has a significant impact. The guessing is that a lot of those people will move.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think people move down to those areas for specific reasons, and those areas are still growing. Houston and Texas and Florida is still growing. People wanted to be in the sun, and maybe they're going to get more of it than they bargained for, but I don't think they're going to come back north. I mean, it's my opinion.
But the people that are moving are the people that have affluent. What they're seeing in Florida already is a net emigration away from Florida for the low economic. That means if we have problems with servers, think of what we'll have in Florida if you have.
Yeah, but the cost of housing, the cost of everything is so much more expensive, and nobody's going to come here, even if they do not have a lot of money. It's way more expensive here.
But we have a minimum wage that's increasing.
It's offset by $1 million home, right, Trevor?
You can work as a retired person and make $40,000 a year on your minimum wage.
Yeah.
Offset your Social Security.
Yeah.
And all the money that you guys have helped make them in their retirement portfolio over the years.
Now, people are using models to forecast things. And I always have a question about the models that they're using to do all this. Because we can look back in history and see models that were used to forecast that we were going to run out of food in the 1700s. Mm-hmm. So looking at the models and what the models are predicting, I think you always have to be skeptical of what they're showing. On the other hand, you have to also be aware of what's going on and see what's going on.
Oh, no, I don't disagree. I mean, we're definitely going through some climatic question about it. Whether people move from Florida and Texas and want to get out of the heat and move north again, then they're going to complain about the snow and the rain and go back down.
So one of the interesting things is we have friends who build a house in Phoenix. Mm-hmm. They're in a development in Phoenix, and they've been notified they will not have any water.
That's what I was going to get to. You took the words out of my mouth. Is that's one of the problems down there, right?
Yeah.
Trevor, you probably hear from other guys too that they got to start a new development. Okay, great. Where are you going to get the water from?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lake Powell and Lake Mead have been going down and down. They're just, maybe filling up a little bit. California and Nevada and Arizona have seen these problems for years. That's a big question I'm wondering. Wow, how are they going to keep up with that demand with their water needs?
And the farm needs. I mean, the avocado growers consume a huge amount of water. Mm-hmm. And do you take the water away from the farmers to give it to the houses?
It's funny you say that because it was a movie I was watching that night. I've been wanting to watch it. Figured, all right, I'm going to sit down and watch this movie. And I watched Chinatown with Jack Nicholson.
Wow, that's an
old school.
Have you seen it, Trevor?
I don't know if I have.
But it's all about water rights. The whole movie's about water rights. Wow. So I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
They want to divert the water. They scared all the farmers off the land in the it's probably 1930s or 40s in L.A. And they scared a bunch of farmers off of land in eastern L.A., what would be now eastern L.A. Mm-hmm. And they bought all the land for pennies on the dollar, and then figured, now we're going to they own the water rights. We're going to send the water that way and irrigate the land, and the land's going to skyrocket. So
yes, and there's some truth to that.
There's absolutely truth. Truth is stranger than fiction. It's like that show Yellowstone, where they try to build the airport into near Yellowstone so they can build housing and ski resorts around it. Well, my in-laws have a place over there. Guess what they're trying to do? Build an airport.
Yep.
Anyway, we're wrapping it up. Lots of things we covered today, and a lot of those are going to have impacts on investment. So check out our website, Adams Financial Concepts. Check out what we do. We think we're ahead of the curve instead of behind the curve. We introduce you to people like Trevor, who talk about the different industries. We want you to be aware of that too. But do check out our website, adamsfinancialconcepts.com.
You've been listening to
and we'll be
About
back
Money with registered investment advisors Mike Adams and Al Souza. If you'd like more information about what you've heard today, or about AFC's investment philosophy and strategy, or if you'd like the AFC team to evaluate your own portfolio, click on adamsfinancialconcepts.com. That's adamsfinancialconcepts.com. The information shared in the preceding program was for educational purposes only, and any investment advice given may not be suitable for all investors. Join us again next Saturday at noon for more About Money with Mike Adams here on AM 1300, The Answer. The preceding program was sponsored by Adams Financial Concepts.